Blog Talk Radio.
With the recent birth of my second grandson, Brayson, made me think of this song that I wrote for my mama years ago. It's called Mama's Rocking Chair. When I was a small child back in Carolina, if I needed Mama, she'd always find the time. She'd tell me a story as she held me there, rocking in my mama's rocking chair. Sometimes she'd sit and rock me hours without end, as she softly sang to me all her favorite hymns, and I felt safe within her arms whenever I was scared, rocking in my mama's rocking chair. In my mama's rocking chair, with my head against her breast, moving to the rhythm of her heart. Lord, I've never found the kind of love that I once felt there, rocking in my mama's rocking chair. I often think about her and the memories of home, though I'm now a grown man with children of my own. When living takes its toll on me, I picture myself there, rocking in my mama's rocking chair. In my mama's rocking chair, with my head against her chest, moving to the rhythm of her heart. Lord, I've never felt the kind of love that I once felt there, rocking in my mama's rocking chair. Lord, I've never felt the kind of love that I once felt there, rocking in my mama's rocking chair.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. That was Rockin' Chair, and it was written by my guest tonight, country music artist Bob Coltrain Kennedy, who we will introduce shortly. But first, this is Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and I want to welcome you tonight to our Friday night edition of Off the Chain. I want to tell you what, the more I do this show and the more people that come into my life and the more outreach that we do in the things that are said and done, I am continually humbled by each and every one of you, both my listeners and my guests, because as I was talking to Bob before the show, I told him, I said, this show is only possible in its success because of each of you. It's not because of me. It's not my show. It is your show, ladies and gentlemen. You are the ones that drive this train. You are the ones that listen every time we have a show. You are the ones that listen into the archives. You are the ones that share the show. You are the ones that continually bring me guests and say, oh, I know so-and-so that would love to be on your show. That is the biggest compliment that anyone can pay an artist, is to say, I know someone that can bring on your show. And the reason I say that is because I've listened to a lot of interviews in my life. I've watched a lot of late night television. And some of those hosts are not about their guest. They're about themselves. When you are on my show, it is all about you, because you are in the limelight. You are the person that is important. You're the only person in the room. And I am so, so humbled that y'all see that, and so grateful that you continually to come in on the show and listen to the show. And I have to tell the state of the country of Australia, thank you. Because of you, who you are my biggest listening base, we are now at 92,765 listeners just on this show. We will reach 100,000 listeners on this show. I ventured to guess before our 2-year anniversary, which is July the 20th. So between this show and all the podcasts that this thing goes up on, which is iTunes and YouTube and FM.com and TuneIn Radio and Stitcher and SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Podcast.com, Podcast Garden, and Spreaker, we're at 127,000 plus listeners. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that says a lot for all of you. So thank you so much. And I have to give a quick shout out to the Teskey brothers that come out of Australia, because these guys are fantastic. They are a blues band, and I would swear that they came off of Bourbon Street, because they sound like Johnny Lang and Eric Clapton and B.B. King and Otis Redding and Robert Johnson all rolled into one. They write their own music. They write their own words, lyrics, and these guys are just amazing. Go and check them out if you have not already. They are getting so big in Australia. They are one of the few bands that I would stand in line to buy tickets for. That's how good they are. And those of you that know me know Yvonne stands in line for nobody. So with that being said, I want to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. So let's get on with tonight's show, because this man is fantastic. I've watched his videos, I've listened to his music, and he takes me back in another time and place in my life. I've been around for a while, and his music is so memorable because it brings up memories in my life that sometimes I want to forget, but they're memories nevertheless. Country music artist Bob Kennedy. He's from a small town of Dudley, North Carolina. So he's a southern boy. He's coming from the South. You're my brother or you're my sister, because that's just the way we are in the South. He's Bobby to his family and old friends, and he says he's not good at bios because he doesn't like to sound self-absorbed, but this man is amazing. There are so many, he says there's so many more talented and artists than he is, but you know, he's right up there at the top, ladies and gentlemen. He grew up listening to traditional country and southern gospel. He listened to Charlie Daniels and Marshall Tucker Band, Lynard, Skynard. They were played on rock stations during his high school years, so he was influenced by their styles as well. He started writing first, as songwriting was his main goal. He probably didn't care much about singing his songs, and he only started singing his songs to give voice to them, because music, like lyrics, is like a book that tells a story, but you have to give it life. His father was a part-time preacher, as many of our music artists are, and he earned his living working, and Bobby first started singing in church. And then one night he set up in a biker bar for tips. He sang his songs, and then he covered others. And to his surprise, and I'm not surprised, the patrons paid him a fair amount of tip money to sing to them. He says he's played at about every venue imaginable, many nightclubs, bars, private parties for rich and poor alike. Supper, sweet tea was his pay. Festivals, fairs, prison, military base, beach events, churches, country clubs, weddings and receptions, American Legions, VFWs, Tootsie's, Orchid Lounge, and other Nashville clubs. He signed as a Nashville artist and songwriter with an indie label in the 90s. Then he lost, but he's back now. He says he's had 24 songs published and mainly recorded by other regional bands all over the country. Bobby, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's that song just, I can't tell you what that song did for my heart and how it made me feel, because that's the way that I felt about my grandmother.
Well, I appreciate that, and I, first and foremost, I want to, thank you for having me as a guest. I'm really impressed by what you do and how you do it, and all that you've accomplished in the time that you have, and just you as a person. and
Well,
all
thank
your
you.
success. So I thank you. I feel honored to be on your program. That song there was when I first got on YouTube. I was very naive, and I didn't. I just used my phone, and I thumb strum mainly when I'm writing or singing at home. So that's what I was doing there. So it got better, but I wanted to, I wanted to send some of my originals instead of covers and stuff that may sound better or better recorded. Most of that was not even a home studio. Some of those are, but I don't think I sent you anything that was in the studio. When I was in Nashville on the indie label, I did a lot of demos for songs other artists that didn't sing. I'd sing them, and I didn't get any copies of those, but I have some, and I've got a few of mine. But even though they had a full arrangement, I'd rather, I've been writing all these years since. So what I'm saying is they're kind of crude, but
you know what, Bobby? That song with just you and a guitar is so pure and so soulful and paints such a picture that I can see a grandmother or a mother sitting on the front porch in her rocking chair with that baby or that little child wrapped up in her arms, humming to that child. Maybe that child's fallen and has a boo-boo. Maybe that child is not feeling well, but I can see that scene, and it is so poignant and so powerful. I think if you had had background music and backup singers, it would have ruined the tenor of that picture.
Well, I didn't even have a mic or anything at all. Just whatever the phone would pick up. But it's a true story. My mother did rock me, and I was talking to my sister my younger sister, when she first heard it, and she was trying to remember where that rocking chair is. I have two sisters, a brother that's deceased, and so that story is true. She did rock me, and she did sing hymns to me. This is a true story, and no matter how old we get, we still, think about our mothers, and it does bring comfort.
That is very, very true. We do.
And I appreciate appreciate what you're saying. I'd rather touch people than sound pretty anyway. I'd rather touch people's hearts. And like you said, I didn't realize that, I had any particular singing gift. I knew I could carry a tune, but I didn't realize that one venue like that just started out where I stayed busy until the early 2000s. I had to make a decision and kind of back off because I got promoted at work. But I stayed busy as I had to turn down dates, and I'm not saying that I was puzzled by it the whole time why people wanted to enjoy it so much.
Don't be puzzled don't be puzzled because all one has to do is listen to your voice and listen to when you sang that song, Bobby. You were physically long. You gave life to that song, so I can understand why you stayed more than busy. I would pay you to do an event. Man, you need to be on stage somewhere. Big stage with thousands of people.
Well, I did covers too, but I also did originals, and I was told that was not a smart thing to do, but I didn't have any set of rules. Like I said, I just set a tip jar up in a bucket board just to see how it would go and bought an amplifier, and it was a keyboard amplifier, so I just plugged in my microphone and picked up what I could with my guitar, and that's the way I did it, and I did some covers too, most of it in my own way, but it was rewarding to me, and then of course as I went on, I got more confident and sort of developed my own style from influences, and I like to believe in the song that I'm singing and feel it and pass on the emotion. Like I say, I'd like to touch people's hearts, even if it's.
Well, have you found? In a few minutes, I want to talk about your history. But before we went live, you and I were talking about the indie industry and how it has morphed into something more than just artists. I mean, we are a cult almost.
It's not been, but I got on YouTube and Facebook, about just a few years ago, and till maybe a year or two ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I realized the opportunities, that I hadn't seen, and I started seeing indie artists come up and become so successful, and artists of all types, really, not just songwriters and musicians, but artists of all types, getting an opportunity that I didn't realize was there, and I began to see and wake up and see it. Plus, I began to, make so many contacts. I've made friends with some famous songwriters that liked what I was doing and has posted some of my songs on their site.
Wow.
And opportunities just from things like that. I mean, I won't get into all that, but I met some successful people that showed interest in me and tried to help me. Some are still trying, but I mean, I want to go ahead and get my stuff together and get back out there. Like a aged wine, I feel like I'm in my prime as far as writing and even performing and vocally and all. I mean, I've had more experience, basically.
Well, and I did not publish my first book until I was in my late 50s. I'm 67 now. I started writing it in the 90s, but I did not, because I kept getting rejected, I did not publish it until 2007. And I was in my late 50s. And the reason that I did it is because I decided that it was time for me to take charge of my destiny. I've never looked back. And when you took charge of your destiny, things started happening for you in a big way.
Yeah, and I didn't foresee that. I mean, I really didn't. I didn't some songs that I thought were mediocre or they think was old fashioned, or I had to be true to me because that's the way it comes out when I write. I kind of hearing what I hear on the.
What I want to do, I want to play a real quick ad for a new sponsor. It's the Andy Ladies, and then I want to turn around and play another one of your songs because we've got two more to play, and I want to talk about the songs. I want to talk about your backstory too, but I want to get these songs in because they are absolutely so powerful. So I'm going to do the ad, and then I'm going to go right into Anger and Tears because that song brought me to tears. So hang on, ladies and gentlemen, and let's run this ad for the Andy Ladies, a new sponsor to our show.
One. And Winona, the lovable narcissist
from the Woman's Cave podcast, inviting you to join us in person
or streaming
at the Inspirational Women in Literature Conference on March 17th.
Get tickets to the conference, buy our books, or watch the TV show Just Right in Life
at andwethought.com or thewomenscave.com.
So peace and love from Winona
and Jade.
The name of this song is Anger and Tears. I left home this morning, didn't say a word. The sound of your crying was the only thing I heard. What I had to say, you wouldn't want to hear. So I left you alone with your anger and tears. Anger and tears, anger and tears. Is that all that's left us after loving all these years? as slowly as love grows, how soon it disappears. In a house filled with anger, in a heart filled with tears. A face like an angel, a voice like a dove. I knew you were sent here from somewhere up above. Am I all to blame for your changing through the years? Have I been the cause for all your anger and tears? Anger and tears, anger and tears. Is that all that's left us after loving all these years? As slowly as love grows, how soon it disappears. In a house filled with anger, in a heart filled with tears. I know that sometimes my temper ain't so good, 'cause things haven't worked out quite the way I thought they would. But let's don't give in to our doubts and fears. Let's try to put an end to this anger and tears. Anger and tears, anger and tears. Is that all that's left us after loving all these years? As slowly as love grows, how soon it disappears. In a house filled with anger, in a heart filled with tears. In a house filled with anger, in a heart filled with tears.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight is country music artist Bob Kennedy, and that was one of his original songs called Anger and Tears. And the first time I heard that song, Bob, I went to tears.
But let me clarify something on that one. That's not one of my originals. Yvonne, it's typical of one of my originals, but that's actually one that was recorded by Mel McDaniel, and I don't know the writer. That was not an original, but it was one that I
stand
always
corrected,
performed.
but it is gorgeous. You do that song a lot of justice.
Well, it is typical of some of the ones that I would sing, and I was asked if I would, and I had done it a lot, and so I have a few covers, but most of what I have is original on my YouTube channel. And I have songs on Facebook too. That's under Bob Kennedy, not Bob Coltrain, but Bob Kennedy. And I have them both places, but I apologize if I was having problems trying to find the MP3 format. I'm such a dinosaur. And
no worries, honey. No worries. And I apologize for assuming it was yours because it sounds like you. To me, that is something that you would write.
Yes, that would be a style that I would write. But it is a true and touching song to me, and one that I could feel and relate to.
Yeah, I've been there. I have been there in my life.
Well, most of us have, if we're honest.
That is true. Now, I want to go back in history because when you sent me your bio, and you and I have had many conversations because you know my background and my husband's background. Yes. And how in the world, my friend, did you get into law enforcement, that is, ladies, he was not in prison, ladies and gentlemen. When I say in the prison system, he was a prison guard. Some people will assume anything.
I had a lot of people assume it was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How in the world did you, in the personality that I see, I could be way off base, but the personality and the person that I see is a very calm, a very genteel human being that is very humble, very unassuming in the fact that, like you say in your bio, you don't like to draw attention to yourself. And because of my background, I know what it takes to be a prison guard and to be in that environment. Number one, how in the world did you do that with your personality and stay sane?
Well, sane is debatable. No, I'm just joking. I was interested in the military originally, and I had all the branches come to my house. I had to do a test in high school, and I was going to go that route. And then I thought law enforcement. My uncle was a police officer, and I just thought I'd be suited for it. So I was accepted with the police department and the prison system the same day, but the prison system paid more, substantially more at that time. Through the years, it was reversed itself. The police officers made more, but at that time, they paid more with the prison system. And of course, I do have that personality that you spoke of. That characteristics is just part of who I am. But I'm not a fearful person, and I think that early on, I started just when I was old enough to be hired, so I was young, very young, just a boy. And I think I kind of like the old saying John Wayne used to say, courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyway. Mm-hmm. And I wanted a job with benefits and retirement and for my family, and just something I felt that I had to do. And the opportunity came along. I was scared at times, but in the prison system, when you establish respect, they'll determine weakness if you're, very passive and that type of thing. But once they realize that you're serious and you stand eye to eye and you do what you say you're going to do, and you treat a person as you'd like to be treated, that goes a long way too. So I developed respect early on, and it's stayed with me. If I told someone I'd do something, I did it, no matter what it took, because I wanted to make sure I stuck to my word. That's a big deal among guys in prison. And if I promised something, I delivered. Stuff within policy that I could help out. At times I'd help a guy that had lost a parent. I might let them sit by themselves in a sex cell or in my office. I encourage guys, in music and art, and I was never, I mingled right among them every day. And even when I was initially promoted to sergeant when I was 24.
Wow.
And I was a supervisor of a shift. And when I was 35, I was promoted to lieutenant. And so that's when I had to kind of back off my music and make a decision, because I was on that indie label, and I didn't want to be passed up for promotion, because a lot of them were thinking I was so busy with it, and they had some articles in the paper on it and stuff like that. They were thinking I was going to probably go full-time music, and so I had to make some decisions. Plus, my father got pancreatic cancer, and they didn't expect him to live very long. And family, to me, has always come first. I wasn't the type that, I had a little girl that was just born. I wasn't the type that was just going to stay in Nashville if I lost everything as far as music. My family comes first, and I want to spend that last time with my father. But to get back to your question, I am a calm person, but I do what needs to be done. And as far as how I made it through singing is because I tried to do things in the right way. I treated people with respect as if they would allow me to. If I had to use force, I used the minimal amount necessary. I didn't let my emotions take control, and then when I become a supervisor, I didn't allow others to. And if it did, I'd deal with it. And I prevented inmates from gangs and that kind of thing. I'd break them up and send them to all types of prisons throughout the state to break up gangs that were robbing other inmates. I took an interest because those guys, that's their home, and they got to live there. They want you to do your job. They don't want you to be passive to the point where you don't do your job. So it got to a point because I had developed respect. It just went a long way, and that and the grace of God, and there was a lot of close calls. And my first night, I almost got killed. Had me on third shift, and I was working death row. And I went down to make a round, and the prison I worked at was a prison that looked like, you ever seen the movie Shawshank Redemption or Green Mile?
Yes.
It's an old prison built in the 1800s, and late 1800s. So it was old and like a castle looking. And I remember it was cell A14, the last cell on the corridor, and it was dark and you couldn't see well inside the cells. And I had nobody with me, mentor, that kind of thing, and they didn't have the help, so I was on my own. They just tell me along what I need to do, and so I was making it around. I had to every 30 minutes, and this guy said, "Would you mind picking up that 50-cent piece there?" And it was right in front of the cell. I said, "No, I don't mind." And I started to bend over and pick it up. I said, "No, maybe I shouldn't do that." So I squatted and picked it up and lifted it back up while I maintained eye contact and handed it to him. And he said, "Thank you." And the next night in lineup, we have a lineup like police officers do. Next night in lineup, the lieutenant showed us a broom handle with a spear on the end of it. They could fashion weapons like you wouldn't believe. And they could do art and stuff that out of soap and anything as you would. But anyway, he said, "We got this out of 814 today." The inmate had told him when they found it, they said he was sick of it all and he was going to kill the first officer that he was able to stick it in. So I think he was intended to get me with that coin. Same night, they strapped me in the electric chair as initiation, and that about 400 plus 400 had been executed in. They had a big book, one shelf on the wall, with a big, thick book. It was old, and it went back to, 20s, and had all the names and races and all that, and the crimes of people that had been executed with the electric chair. But I was never a real fearful person. I'd stand up for the bullies, to the others, and I'd do it a lot of times just by standing my ground and seeing that I was very sincere in what I'm saying went a long way too. So I did maintain my dignity and their dignity, and that went a long way. Treating somebody with respect.
Would it be fair to say that even within the prison system, and like you say, that is their home, not one they particularly care to be in, but because of their actions, they are there. But prisoners even want to feel safe. They don't want to live in fear of being harmed in any way.
Oh, no, they don't, because they have to live there. And, there's a lot of bad things that happen in prison. When new guys come in, especially young guys, they're prey. And I would pull them to the side and give them hints. I said, "Don't take things from anybody that say they're going to be your friend and take you under their wing and give you candy bars or cigarettes or whatever. I said, don't do that, because there'll come a time when there's payback, and you'll be violated in one way or another, or several. So I'd give guys a heads up, when they first started. But then as they progressed in the system, they remember that, and all that through the years. A lot of times somebody will buck up at me and want to resist me, and other inmates would say, "Man, leave him alone. He's don't bother him. He's not the one to be messed with." So I'd even have some hardcore guys, and it wasn't because I was passive or weak or gave them something they're not supposed to have or anything like that. It's just that they already, in prison, you don't feel that great about yourself anyway.
Right.
And if somebody treats you like, just little things like, "Sir, it's time to get up. You're being transferred," and just little things like that. To just refer them to as "Sir" or "Mr. So-and-so," or, things like that. It's just, it's a world within a world. There's a lot goes on, and it's not a job you can really come home and share with your family. It's not a job.
What you did is you left them with their identity.
Yes, I guess that'd be a better way of putting it.
Because in prison, you're a number.
Yes.
And you
and
lose.
And
all...
everybody's wearing the same uniform, and you lose
yes.
your individualism. And a lot of officers are bad, and I'm not knocking them, but they're bad for that. I would use their names, and I would treat them as individuals. And if I saw somebody that had made some craft or something that was good, I'd compliment it, and I'd never put anybody in jeopardy trying to get information. I'd do it in a very selective way. If something happened, like a stabbing or serious assault, I would question every inmate from one dorm, if those that were in a dorm or cell block, whatever, the same amount of time, so that nobody could pinpoint who said what, and things
right.
like that. And I worked hard on preventing assaults. I was try to gather intelligence every day, and whether it be staff or inmates. This year alone, we've had 5 correctional officers killed in North Carolina.
Oh my Lord! I did not realize that.
Yeah, one female sergeant had a fire, inmate had set a fire, and she got a fire extinguisher on her own, and he took it from her and beat her to death. And then it was a riot in another prison. It was a riot in a prison here in Goldsboro, but nobody was killed. But we've had 5. We had a tough year, but there's a lot of danger, and I saw a little bit of everything you can imagine. And some of those memories do linger with me, but
well,
I was thankful.
That being said, that statement being said, Bob, in the writing of your songs that you're doing now, based on that journey you took, some of that has to come out in what you write. Some of the emotions, some of the personalities, some of the experiences, maybe not so much in the song itself, but in the way you express the song. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes. Yeah, I've probably been told in comments and things that they could feel the emotion and compassion and passion, because just in my own life experiences, and everybody has ups and downs and rough times. I've had mine, but I also dealt with every day. It's not like a police officer on the street where you can stop by. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying that you could stop by and talk to Joe at the gas station, or
right.
Give a little old lady a ticket or something. Every day of my career for 31 years was convicted felons. All were criminals, and there were career criminals. There was no public. It was all criminals.
And what folks don't realize, Well, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to interject. This is what folks don't realize is when we say career criminals, that means they have been institutionalized and they can no longer function outside of prison.
Yeah, with this guys that's been in for years, in and out and in and out. That was the type I dealt with my whole career. I never dealt with people just freshly coming in. It was all career criminals with every type of crime. I dealt with serial killers. I was the first person to cuss me out and threaten me was a serial killer. And every other kind of crime you can imagine. Plenty of sociopaths. But my point was, I have a tendency to get off track, but my point was that I also, show compassion when it's times like somebody's mother died. A lot of times I'd be the one to take them if they were approved to go to the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do little things like, if I trusted them enough, I'd take the cuffs off and let them sit with their family. And I'd wear a suit, not my uniform, and so I wouldn't be as conspicuous, just to give them that little bit of dignity. Because I never had a problem with any of them trying to escape. Afterwards, I would go outside or in the bathroom where nobody else could see them, and I'd cuff them back up and put them in the car. And little things like that, showing that kind of, that's why I say I wasn't violating anything. That was my decision. But it was also my risk to take. And
exactly.
But
and what people don't understand
by hearing,
is, go ahead.
No, I did not. You go ahead.
What I was going to say is what folks don't understand is even with the cuffs on, it's still a risk, especially if you're by yourself with them in a car.
It's high risk. Yeah, it's a very high risk. And I had a few scary moments, but not many. But I never did answer your question, I don't think. But hearing all the stories and the sadness, and a lot of guys would come to me when they felt suicidal, or they lost their mother, or they just got a Dear John letter from home, or their child just got killed, or whatever. I have all those years and years and years of that on a daily basis that also is a part of me, in addition to my own life experiences. So yes, I do feel a song. I literally feel it, and I do feel compassion, and it does well up emotions in me. So it does affect my writing, and I have songs that I have it's not on YouTube or anything yet, but a lot of them, and some of them are directly related to prison, and some of them are, like you say, indirectly. I have plenty to pull from, as far as life experiences.
And would it be fair to say that detour in your journey of performing and writing, that detour had a purpose in that? Not only did he fed edits and all that stuff, but it gave you a depth that you might not have had you not had that experience.
It definitely did, no doubt about it. But it seemed like it affects staff one of two ways. There's not many that have a career in the prison system. Most last 3-5 years and they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare that you have career people, and I was a career person, but it affects them one or two ways. One, they'll get cynical, and just everybody, they look at everybody the same as just a convict, not an individual. Or you have a very small percentage that see it so much it becomes so common they become crooks themselves, and I had to deal with some of that. Or like me, the way it affected me was I cherished my family more because I knew what was out there. I knew. I saw it in a different way. I cherished the miracles of life and the freedom of life, and I was thankful that that it didn't happen to me, and I just clung to the positive more, because I was in that environment every day, I cherished the good things in life. I don't mean materialistic, but
right. That
more
intangibles.
than yes, that more than the average person, because I was in danger every day, and it was negative, and I mean I dealt with every kind of criminal you can imagine, and I saw a lot of killings and you name it, some nasty things go on, and so it didn't cause me to be cynical. It caused me to be just like you just said.
It gave you more character than you already had. Yes. And with that being said, Bob, I have to take a few seconds and do an ad for a lovely, lovely, lovely young lady named Cece Chamberlain. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not heard Cece's podcast, Inside Your Life with Cece, it's on podcast.com, iTunes, and Google Play. You need to go listen to it because it is a motivational path. Cece interviews people who are living their true purpose, whether it be a professional boxer, a prison guard, an author, or a history enthusiast. She strives to give one hope for a brighter day with all of her inspirational words. I've been on that show. I came off of that show feeling higher than the sun in the sky. So download, subscribe, and listen as Cece guides you to pursue your dreams and for you to live your best life. This fantastic show is available on podcast.com, iTunes, Google Play, and elsewhere podcasts are available. Inside Your Life with Cece. And I tell you what, Bob, you would be an inspiration to be on her show as well because you have seen the darkest side of life there is to see, and you still are one of the most amazing people I have ever had the pleasure of knowing.
Well, thank you, and it was mutual.
And with that being said, let's play this last song because I don't want it to get away. This, ladies and gentlemen, this song has never been one of my favorite songs because when I was a child, they always sang it at funerals, and I hated this song. But what Bob does to this song, it's inspirational. It's not a funeral dirge, which is what I grew up thinking it was, but it isn't. So after what y'all have just heard in Bob's testimony about his profession, I want y'all to listen to this song.
May I add one thing real quick?
Absolutely.
In addition to all that I said that carried me through, I've always had, faith and, higher power. And, of course, I believe in Jesus and his teachings. And I have to say that I did call on Jesus quite a few times in my career, almost daily.
As we should.
That my faith helped me through as well. I say my faith, not my faith. I'm not deserving at all, but God brought me through.
So let's listen to this because that talks about it in this song. Let's listen.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've noticed days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
That is the way that song should be sung.
I did that with one night I was singing, and I don't remember where, but it was outside event, and some group of people came up to me, and they were a bluegrass group from the mountains or foothills. You know how North Carolina, I don't know if you know about North Carolina.
Yeah.
We have mountains on one end and the coast on the other.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me would I schedule a time with them and record. They like my singing, and they asked me would I record with them. And so those instruments that were playing were bluegrass style instruments, and I kind of set the tempo of the song. But there was a mountain dulcimer that one of them played. It's like a wood. It looks like the size of a piano almost, and they beat it with a skinny drumstick with a ball on the end of it. They're beating it. Of course, they had a harmonica, and I was playing guitar, and another guy was playing guitar, and so that give a different flavor as well. You can't really call it bluegrass. I don't know what you'd call it, but that's the way I interpreted it, and they played it. I thought they played it beautifully, and I know what you're saying about it. You know, I wanted a little different take on it.
I love.
But I see what you're saying now, that it does kind of apply to what I was saying. And it's kind of ironic.
Yeah, it's uplifting, and it shows hope at the end of a day that you think is a lost cause, and it makes one feel good inside because there is grace. There is hope.
Well, yeah, and how you deliver a song plays a part too.
Yes.
And it does make a difference. And I saw that song in my life and my experiences as hopeful, and not such a dread like some sound.
Well, they played it at every funeral I went to as a child. My parents are from Rome, Georgia, which is, up in the mountains of North Georgia, and that was a standard song you played at a funeral. And I understood when I got older why they did it, because it was a song of hope. They drew it out so that it's 3 days long. It didn't have to be. You can do the same thing what y'all did with the dulcimer and the harmonica, and you feel good.
Well, I appreciate it. I do.
I heard that song and I went, oh my word. He just made me like a song that I grew up hating.
Well, that's a big compliment. That makes me feel good. I appreciate it.
As it should. Now, you're not going to believe this, my friend, but our hour is almost up.
I figure it was. I just looked at the clock. It went by really fast. I hope I didn't talk over you or talk too much.
No. It was I learned a lot. Our audience learned a lot. And the big question is this: would you be willing to come back and share some more of your wonderful music with us?
Oh, I certainly will. That's just a few of many, and I have more originals on my channel. I do, covers of anything. But I'd be more than happy to. Yes, I would. I'd be honored.
I would like to bring you back maybe September, October. That'll give me time
Fine,
to get
just
some of your music.
just text me what you want to do, message me, and I'll be glad to.
Well, tell the folks where you can be found.
In fact, I'd be honored to.
Well, thank you, my darling. I'd be honored to have you. Tell the folks before we run out of time where you can be found on your YouTube channel and on Facebook. And ladies and gentlemen, if you go, you're going to get addicted. I'm telling you, this man is marvelous. Just simply marvelous.
Well, like I say, I have my YouTube has probably 75 to 85% originals and a few covers. Got about 100 songs. And it's listed under Bobby Coltrain, that's Coltrain, Kennedy. I also have songs, but I also have a mixture of family and my grandchildren and other things. But I have a lot of songs on Facebook as well, but that's Bob Kennedy. And I haven't branched out yet. What I want to do is, when I finish getting the guys together, is do an album of some of my, maybe 8 or 10 of my originals.
Ooh.
And put it on iTunes, but I don't have any yet on iTunes or anything like that. So
you got to
you
got to get on iTunes. You got to go get on Reverb Nation. You got to get on CD Baby, and that's just the beginning. And you got to come back on the show. That's just the beginning of your journey, my friend. You are going far. I'm telling you, your music is such a breath of fresh air.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate the encouragement and the kind words.
You got this. I just feel it. I'm throwing it out there in the universe, Bob, and the universe and I have this relationship, so you got this. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'll give you one more example. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
You were talking about how somebody with a more humble demeanor could function in a system like the prison system. Did you ever see the movie The Green Mile with Tom Hanks in it?
Yes.
Well, my nature was more like Tom Hanks. He didn't have to be so aggressive. He was just respected because he showed respect. So my nature was more like his, and my walk with the system.
And it shows, friend. And that brings me to this, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow night at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time, author Janet Taylor Perry will be visiting with us again. So be sure and join us. And you know that there's a few things I say at the end of every show, and this goes along with what we've been talking about tonight. Don't just feel special, be special, because if you just feel special, you will never be special. If you want to achieve greatness, stop asking permission, because nobody's going to give it to you. The difference between who you are today and who you want to be is what you do. So if you want to change who you are, then change what you do. Your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. And how you leave others feeling after having had an experience with you, Bob is a testament to that. How you leave others feeling after having had an experience with you, ladies and gentlemen, that is your trademark. People will forget your name. They will forget what you're wearing. They forget what you look like, but they will never, ever, ever forget how you made them feel. And if you make them feel like they're special, the rewards that come back to you are so great and so lasting. And at the end of your days, people will say, this person made me feel this way, and they will mean it. Bob, I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight. It was such an honor, and I can't wait to bring you back. With that being said, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
With that being said, because we're running quickly out of time, I want to say join us again tomorrow night at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. And I am your host, Yvonne Mason, with Off the Chain, with my wonderful, wonderful guest, country artist Bob Kennedy. Go check out his music, check out his Facebook page, and let him know what you think. Until then, we say good evening. Bob, hang on. And when the show goes dark, I want to tell you something. Okay, the show is now off the air, but everything we say will go up into the archive show. But what I wanted to tell you is when we hang up, the show will go up into archives. What I'm going to do is when it archives, I'm going to post it on my page. I'm going to tag you in it. My gift to you, my friend, is to take this show and all the podcasts and share it with your entire network so that people that missed the show tonight can listen to it and they can share it. Tomorrow, I will put the show up on podcast.com, Podcast Garden, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and Spreaker. I will also tag you with those links from my Facebook page. Take those podcasts and share them to the entire universe, and so that people can hear this interview and hear your wonderful story and your wonderful music. That is my gift to you.
Well, I very much appreciate that. You certainly don't have to. I would like to say that I'm sorry I didn't get the songs to you, and you had to work to get the songs.
Stop it. It's okay. Stop.
I do appreciate it.
Look, we got it worked out. I have a converter. I went on your YouTube and took care of it.
And I also would like to say that I really appreciate, because I've seen you do that on the interviews I've seen, leave such a positive and encouraging comment to all at the end of your interviews. You're reinforcing people in a positive way, as well as really showcasing the artists that you're interviewing. You just really have a special knack for it, and
Thank you.
It's really refreshing.
Thank you. You've
but
made my day.
I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I'm going to send you some dates because I want to help you succeed. It gives me great pleasure to watch my guests climb up that ladder of success and bloom like flowers and go places they never thought they could go. We're heard in over 100 countries, Bob.
Oh,
so
I know.
You will be heard in places you never thought you would be heard before, and it gives me great pleasure to be able to do that.
Well, I wish I had things, recorded. I mean, the last one was live. That was actually live, but it did have full arrangement. But I have better quality originals and all. But I could direct you more, if you do have me on again, of which ones, or you could pick them whichever you prefer, whatever you think would fit. But yeah, I'd be honored, to be honest. It's a wonderful opportunity for one, and I enjoy talking with you.
Well, thank you. And
such a positive person.
You've got so many more stories. We didn't even scratch the surface of your life.
Hit the surface, but I'd be glad to talk with, about more about the prison system, or more about. I've dealt with sociopaths. I've dealt with and a lot of situations and experiences I couldn't even.
Oh, our next show is going to be so filled with stuff. It's going to be so much fun.
Same with my music. I have a lot of experiences there as well.
See?
But,
and you've helped a lot of people, too.
Yeah, well, I hope I have.
Sure.
One thing that was really rewarding to me, I know you need to go, but I just less than a week ago, I have we used to call them convicts, inmates now. I have 4 or 5 or 6 ex-inmates that's Facebook friends of mine that had got out of prison, stayed out of prison, done well, and I got a text under one of my songs that I had posted. He was saying that, because I used to sing in prison, too, to the guys sometime, and encourage those. If Merle Haggard had never been encouraged, he wouldn't have been a Merle Haggard.
That's right.
And he was in prison, But I'd encourage guys to pick up an instrument or to work on their artwork, and I encourage people like that. But I got a text, and he was saying that he wanted to let me know, and I thought he'd long forgotten it. But he said, when my daddy died, how you took me to the side and let me cry during your office with my back facing the door, and how you took me to the funeral and treated me with respect, and how much it meant to my mother and my sisters and to me. And that really made my day. And when my mother died, she died. She's probably it's been about 8, 9 years. I was still working, of course, but I got letters from inmates within the prison telling me that they had a lot of respect for me, and they were very sorry to hear that my mother had passed, and you know, guys that were kind of hardcore. But what I didn't stress, Yvonne, and I'll say this, and I promise you I'll shut up. Is what I didn't stress is I also felt an obligation, because a lot of these guys had never seen what a real man is supposed to act like.
Right.
They had the attitude that a real man was supposed to be macho and just take whatever he wanted to take, and then a lot of them hadn't had examples. So I felt the responsibility to show that example, because you don't know how you affect people's lives. To show that there is good and positive in people in life, and that everybody is not on the take. Because I was told that many times. Everybody's got a price when they try to, to bring something in or whatever. I'd say, well, I don't. I turned down $40,000 for a phone call one time from a cartel member of Columbia. I had to count his money. He had so much in a private office as a sergeant. And he had a box of cigars. He offered them to me. I said, I don't smoke cigars. I appreciate it. I said, they're yours, and I can't take them anything. I can't take anything from you. He said, well, take that $40,000. I had to count it. And I said, no, I can't take your money. He said, no, everybody got a price. I said, well, what would I have to do for it? I said, that just out of curiosity. He said, nothing, maybe just make a phone call. Let me make a phone call. Because they couldn't make them but once a month. And
Right.
that was limited to 10 minutes. I said, partner, I said, I have scruples. I said, I don't have a whole lot. And you do obviously have a lot more than I do. I said, but you could offer me $4 million, and I would not take it. And he said, God bless you. He said, yeah. I didn't think there was anybody left like that anymore. So I hope that I made an impact on people, and but I'll shut up. I'm so full of stories and life experiences.
So we've got so many things to talk about on the next show, and I will send you some dates, my friend. And please use this show and the podcast to your advantage. I will. And send it out everywhere, even to the gentlemen that are on your Facebook, they're former inmates. Show them that the respect was mutual, and that we discussed it, and how proud you are of them and where they've come in life.
Well, I hadn't thought about that. But most of these guys, when they do get out and change, a lot of them accomplish more than the average person within 4 or 5 years. A lot of them have homes, families, cars. They're just so motivated when they decide to make that change.
Because they feel like they have more to prove, and that's something else we can talk about on the next show.
But there's a lot to come back. But anyway, I'll shut up. I know you have to go.
Well, I'm going to let you go.
But I appreciate the honor to be on your program.
Well, thank you, my darling, and thank you for spending an hour with me. And I will send you the dates, and we will take it from there.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate it very much.
Good night.
All right. Good night. Bye.